Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Today is our special guest day, where we will hear from a friend of the ministry who will share their insight and stories on truth in this chaotic world. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Guest Thursday, and we have some very special guests from Cincinnati area, Ohio. Shad and Jennifer Carnes. Kathy, they actually are part of a small group here in Colorado.
You're kidding.
And they'll share with that. So that small group,
Very interesting.
several years ago, came to an abiding retreat, learned what it means to walk with God and abide, and then their whole group picked it up, and they've been given some great assignments to consider actually the remnant issues for the end times. And they were being told that before they even knew what it meant, and so it's kind of been fun to see that develop. So they meet quite a bit. And how often do you guys come out to Colorado?
We're out probably every couple months,
Yep.
at least, sometimes more. But then we have a standing call on Tuesdays that we do every week,
Yep.
via Zoom.
Yeah.
So.
Did you guys live in Colorado previously? How did you connect to that?
No, my best friend Heath, who went through the abiding
Yes.
first, he and Rebecca, we all went to
We
college
know
together.
them.
Yeah. Well, yep. So we went to school at the same time they did. So we were there when they first started dating.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Shad's actually responsible.
I'm somewhat
for them.
responsible for that. I like to take credit for that. So
Good job.
I told him
You were the matchmaker.
You should go ask Rebecca out. So he did.
He needed
Great.
a little bit of prompting.
He needs some guidance.
Yeah, he just needed some focus.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's great.
He had no problem dating. It was the focus.
Tell us where exactly do you guys live right now?
So we're south of Cincinnati, Ohio, about 20 minutes. We live in a city called Florence, Kentucky, that is right on I-75 going southbound toward Lexington.
Yeah.
And it's kind of known for this big water tower by the mall that says Florence Y'all. So that's our claim to fame, Florence Y'all.
So were you were a little bit disappointed that they didn't quite get to the Super Bowl this year?
We're not talking about that,
We were
Rich.
more than a little.
Okay. All right, we won't.
Sore spot.
We're there's next year.
Yeah.
My husband's a diehard Eagles fan. I'm a Pats fan, but my husband's diehard Eagles, so he was more than a little disappointed also
we were sad about
with how
that.
things turned out.
We did turn into Philly fans for the last game.
Yeah.
That was a shame.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear your story. First of all, share with the audience individually, how did you each come to know Christ in your, when did that happen, and how did that happen in your life? And you can, Jennifer, let's go ahead and start with you. Tell us about your coming to know Christ and what occurred then.
Okay. I was raised in a Christian home, although the church we went to was not necessarily
Dysfunctional.
Yeah, it's actually listed as a cult now. It was Worldwide Church of God, and I was born into it. But my parents were very, very strong in their faith, and just set a really good example for me as what it looks to live that out, as far as like the way they treated people. And I mean, I remember, because we were, we did not have money, but I know of several times where my dad would like buy groceries for a family that needed them or something like that, So then I kind of walked away from that when I was a teenager, kind of your typical rebellious stage.
Sure.
And then I ended up going to the college that the church supported, whatever. And by that point, I had decided I needed to get away from the people that I was hanging out with. I needed to change the direction I was going because I knew that I wanted to follow Christ, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So went down there, and it was just really good to be. It was a small college surrounded by a bunch of people that believed in God and walked that out. So I was baptized when I was 20.
And what college was that? Where was that?
It was called Ambassador College. It was a tiny little college in Big Sandy. They had a campus in Pasadena as well.
Okay.
But it's no longer there.
Great. So you were in college and came to know Christ there, and did you get pretty active at that point in any kind of a church at all, or?
Well, it was a church college, so by default you attended church and all that.
Okay.
Then it kind of, the whole church kind of splintered and came apart, and for me that was a very good thing because there were several things about it that I already had issues with.
Yeah.
Just it was a very legalistic system.
Yeah.
There was no grace about it whatsoever. But thankfully, like, some pastors that had been in the church that I had a personal relationship were grace filled. So I saw what that looked like. So when we left that and we started going to just like a non-denominational Christian church, for me, it was just amazing breath of okay, this is what it can look like. I can read the Bible and think, okay, this is what that verse says to me, and feel it and not be told, no, that it actually means this. So yeah,
that's neat that you had that already, that spiritual sensitivity. That was good. So Chad, how about you? How did you come to know Christ?
I had a lot less sensitivity.
Similar.
Yeah, we grew up in the same church, but not in the same congregation. So I was Worldwide Church of God as well. Went down to Ambassador College as well. When the church changed, so what happened was leadership changed. Herbert Armstrong, the founder, he passed. Before he passed, he gave leadership to somebody else, Joseph DeCotch at the time, and that's when changes started happening in Worldwide. And amidst those changes, it just blew up. People that were that wanted to keep what we had got upset. People that liked the changes obviously want to go with the changes. And for me, one of the same sad things that happened for me was I never stopped believing in God. So I grew up in Worldwide, and just the idea of God was, I liked that. I mean, I liked the idea of God. I liked, the fact that, Jesus was the Son. He gave himself for us. But when grace entered the picture and stopped being legalistic, I was like, oh, I don't have to go to church. So I got lazy on some things, and really that's that I don't have an excuse other than that. It wasn't that I stopped believing or I was mad at anybody or God. I got lazy, and I'm like, well, if I don't have to do these things, I'm just gonna I'm gonna stay home and do the yard on Sundays, or I'm gonna work more, or that was the thing. And but fortunate for me, Jennifer found a church, started attending on Sundays, this non-denominational church, and we were having kids, and the kids are growing up, and I was just from the outside saying, hey, I want my kids to believe in God. It doesn't make sense for me to not be with Jennifer in church on Sundays. And that's kind of where it got started again for me. It's just I feel like I needed to be there with her and set a tone in our home that, this is something that we believe in, and it's something we hope that you will believe in too.
Yeah.
And so, for me, just getting back into it, and I think, it was a little hard. I'm a guy that likes programs and likes punch lists. So going from legalism into a grace-filled evangelical arena was completely different. But I started to see just God and just different ways. And you talk about abundance and John 10:10 and the abundant life, and like it's not rules because God's like this rule keeper. It's these instructions and guidance because He wants to give you life.
Right.
And I just
Right,
felt like if I
absolutely.
was following God and following these instructions, man, life was better in every way.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. So how did you? So you were believers. How did you then meet, and what attracted you to each other? And then how long did it take before you got married?
Well, okay, so like he said, we grew up in the same church but different congregation. But I grew up just north of Dayton, Ohio, which is like an hour and a half from where Shad is from. And the youth group would have because you were only, supposed to
We were very cloistered.
you're only supposed to hang out with people that were in the church. But the youth group, it was really great program. But we had like basketball weekends and volleyball weekends and stuff like that. So we met, I think we were like 16.
Yeah.
I was actually
Oh,
friends
wow.
with his older brother first. And then met him, and we had one date.
Yeah.
But it was like I had a boyfriend and he had a girlfriend. It was like his pastor had said, ask somebody from a different church area to dinner for this thing. So he asked me, and we had a really good time, but then that was it. It was like, then we went our separate ways. And then we got to college, and because of that rebellious period I told you about before, we were in the same grade and graduated the same year, but he was down at college a year before I was. So when I got down there, we didn't really know each other, but
No. But dating was highly encouraged at Ambassador. They liked you to date. They call it dating widely. So, every weekend you take a church date to church, or you take a date out on Friday night or Saturday night. So it was really encouraged. So, when Jennifer showed up on campus, I was like, well, I'm going to ask Jennifer as one of my dates. And it kind of went from there.
Yeah. Even though he did cancel.
So the real story, I asked
She's
you
ratting you out.
Ask
there.
you out, but
We can tell that.
later.
But no, it was kind of funny because he had canceled once, I think.
Just once.
And then he had asked me out again, and I'm like, if he cancels this time, that's it.
That's it, buddy.
Yeah. So oddly enough, there was this other guy that I had this huge crush on, and he asked me out.
This part's okay. Where I cancel, it's not okay, but this part's okay. So.
Right. Well, it leads to the good part. So his parents were in town visiting. Freak snowstorm.
Yeah.
So all the college kids that had gone to hang out at the hotel with his parents get stuck. So I'm there with another date. Shad is there with another date. His parents get a room for the girls, a room for the guys, put everyone up for the night, and then the next morning, people are like hanging out and leaving, and Shad was like,
that was supposed to be our date.
Yeah, that Saturday. So if I hadn't gone, he would have had to cancel again. Because he was stuck.
Because I would have been stuck because of snow.
Yeah. But he was like, hey, we were supposed to have a date today. Do you just want to hang out? And I had the worst time the night before. Like the guy I had the huge crush on, we had nothing in common, like literally nothing to talk about. And
I'm sure that went in my favor.
It did.
So.
It did because we just clicked.
Yeah.
It was like so that was.
And then you were a freshman then, and
I was a freshman.
You were a sophomore.
I was a sophomore, and she was a freshman at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a couple months older than me, but.
Yeah.
So you guys started dating, and then how long before we got engaged and married?
So that was winter of my freshman year. We got engaged April of my sophomore year and got married August that summer.
Wow.
So we just had our 30-year anniversary this past August.
Oh, we have our 30-year February 27th.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are pikers. Linda and I are 53, so.
We'll get there.
Yeah, you'll get there. So then you were married while you're in college.
Yeah, my senior year, we got married before my senior year, and I had planned to finish in December as well. So Jennifer did not go back as a student after we got married.
Which was a mistake.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mistake. So we recognized that kind of too late. But we went back as married students, and that was hard too, honestly, because there was for us, just this huge disconnect from having been on campus, with our peers all those years, and then now we're off campus, and we're not connecting with our peers as much, and now we're married, and very few of our none of our friends were married. Just some of our peers were married.
So
but
the
none of our
dating
friends were married.
widely,
Yeah.
the dating widely was encouraged, but not the marrying early per se.
Well, no, you were supposed to wait till you had there were married students, and there was actually married housing, but it was full. So we had to find our own apartment. So it was like,
Okay.
there.
And most of the married students were older than us too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were older.
Yeah.
We were
21.
Yeah.
We were young.
We were young.
Yeah. So you get married, graduate, and then where did you, tell us about your careers. What did you go from there, and what did you wind up doing?
So I wanted to get my MBA, and I thought at the time I wanted to go into finance, maybe mutual funds or something. That's what I was thinking at the time. Applied to a few different schools. I was, my goal was to get into the best school I could, and hope, in the hopes that would get me a better look when it was time to start looking for jobs.
Sure.
I got accepted to the University of Kentucky. I got turned down by Indiana. And then we were kind of set. We had gone down to Lexington and found an apartment. We're kind of set on Kentucky. And then the University of Pittsburgh accepted me last minute, right at the end of summer of that year. So I ended up redirecting, and we went to Pittsburgh, and I got my MBA there. Two reasons. One is it was just ranked higher, and then they had an 11-month program that was really strenuous, but I could get it done faster. And I hated school. I never liked school. So Jennifer was pretty disappointed. She had a hard time on Lexington, but I changed gears, and that was before we were biting too. So it was more of a push on my part to just, hey, I know I want to do this. Let's do this.
Yep.
And so I got my MBA, and all with the idea that I didn't want to work for my dad, who had his own business. My mom and dad have their own business, and I have been working for them ever since. So I came out of MBA program, struggled to find something, and just started working for my parents, just obviously to put money into our accounts and pay the bills and stuff like that. But the longer it took me to find something else, the more entrenched I got with mom and dad, and I was just able to kind of build a new position for myself, helping them run things. The business started growing a little bit too, so it was able to support us.
And what is the business?
It's called SPIFF, SPIFF Services. It's very unique. It's something my dad fell into years and years ago, but our customers are big truck manufacturers, so like Peterbilt, Kenworth, and Freightliner. So whenever they put new trucks on display, they call us to move them and clean them. So we do trade shows, we do customer events, we do product launches. Anytime that they're going to display new trucks, industry shows, we generally would get a phone call and get asked to go get it, take it to the event, clean it, and then take it back. So,
interesting.
Yeah, very unique. And Dad fell into that, about 44 years ago. He had a job driving a mixer truck, got laid off, and then the pastor at the time said, hey, there were several guys in the church that were laid off, said, hey, if anybody wants to learn to detail cars, I can teach you how to detail cars. You can pick up some extra money. And Dad was one of the people who said yes. He started doing that. He went to work for local car dealerships first, some of the rental car companies like Hertz, and then he moved over and started doing trucks for like Peterbilt Cincinnati and Mack of Cincinnati. And one year, Peterbilt asked him to go down to Louisville at the world's biggest trade show at the time, for world's biggest trucking show. And when he was down there cleaning the 2 Peterbilts for the Cincinnati dealership, people just started asking for help. They saw him on the floor like, hey, we need some help with our trucks. Can you detail ours too?
Right.
It just snowballed from there. It wasn't like this.
It's amazing how those niche things
Oh,
can
yeah.
become true. I mean, you don't even think about them becoming a business, and then what
yeah.
God does with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you've been active the whole time. You're really not right now full-time, are you? Or are you actually full-time?
I'm full-time, but
Okay.
I have a lot of flexibility. So, the company, we do obviously in-person events. Got killed during COVID.
I
So
bet.
during COVID, I mean, I think Rich, you saw me a lot more during COVID too,
Yep.
because we just ended up having
No trade shows.
little work to do. But then I have a lot of flexibility as well, as my parents let me manage the business now, and that gives me a lot of say on how I manage my time. So if I'm not, if I'm, as long as I'm answering the phone and emails and getting out the work that needs to be done, I can be hanging out with Heath too, or the guys in Colorado, or we can do a weekend at Rich's, that kind of thing. So.
Yep.
And then we've been blessed too that Jennifer really, she's worked for us for a lot over the years, but then we, for the most part, she's been able to stay home too with the kids, and we were able to get by with just one income.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And what do you guys have for kids, if you don't mind me asking? Or who do you have for children?
We have 2 sons and a daughter. They are 24, 25, and 26.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
So you were busy with little ones for a while.
Yeah. I was pregnant for 3 years straight, I think.
Wow. That's great, though.
So you've been active in business and been active with obviously Heath and involved with the group. How long have you been involved with the Colorado group that Heath gathered together, and you guys kind of formed this small group as couples? How long has that been going on?
So originally it wasn't like it is now, where we're definitely more community than ever since we started the abiding back in 2020. But the first time we got together, the guys, was in 2015. We went on there's a ministry out of Dallas called Global Advance, and they would do business as mission trips and take business guys from the U.S. to different places around the world and hold conferences. And we all went to Nicaragua together, and he put that together. So he asked 3 guys out of Colorado and me. Heath and I have been best friends ever since our freshman year of college, and so the 5 of us went down to Nicaragua, and then off and on we've done Dominican Republic. We did Rwanda a couple times, or a few times actually.
Oh, fun.
And then in 2020, it went to a whole new level. We did the abiding weekend together with Rich, and it just went to a whole new level, because now we want to, what's God saying to you? And I have this question, and do you want to process it with me? And it's really been fun.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So they came, their whole group came to a retreat and learned it, and they were already formed up and had a heart for it, and they just really received it and then started to live it out and give it away, and tremendous stuff going on, and including some cool assignments that maybe we'll get into on the second week of this. But tell us a little bit, each of you, what does abiding look like to you, and how do you process with God, and what has that looked like and meant to you, just in terms of you as a follower of Christ?
Sure. For me, it was just, it was pretty amazing to have another tool to hear from God in a way I never had before.
Yeah.
That's good.
And like I said, I would read the Bible and I felt like I understand it, but to be given that teaching, and I had never journaled before in that way, and just to sit down with thoughts or questions in your mind, and to go through verses and feel like you're being guided and spoken to specifically on what you're asking or what you're struggling with. It's just been amazing, and it so has deepened my relationship because it's made it so much more personal.
Mm-hmm.
And then like with the group that we have, we can ask someone, say, this is what I'm hearing. What are you hearing about this? Or some, and to get feedback like that and support, and to have, even like a couple weeks ago, we sent out a prayer request, and like they actually were like, thank you for asking us to pray for you on this. And just to have that kind of support and connection, I mean, you can't value that enough.
No, that's beautiful. It's always fun to hear God lead and guide you, and that's been a fun thing to watch. And Shad, how about you? How has that been? How have you been receiving that and processing that?
For me, it just made the intimacy just far greater. I probably at least 2 or 3 times try to do read the Bible in a year plan, and never made it more than maybe a month or 2 months.
Once you hit Leviticus, then
you forget it. I'm out. So it's talked about how God's word is a living word, and I had never experienced that in a way that I have with abiding. Where now, it's coming alive. I have these questions and I have these things that I'm dealing with, and the word's coming alive because God's walking me through stuff. And there are times when I want to speed it up. That's my personality. I want to speed it up.
Yeah, come on, get to the punchline. What you got?
Yeah, get to the punchline. I got things I'm worried about here. But God's He's really just taught me to slow it down, and He's still teaching me. I'm not, I got work there in that area,
sure.
But He's still, slow it down, be patient, and enjoy the relationship. I want to spend time with you, and I've learned, man, I really want to get to that time in the morning now, or in the evening if I take the time in the evening too. And it's just been a lot more special in that regard to have that deeper relationship feel.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful description of simplicity. Really, it is. It's hard to keep helping people understand it, but you described it well. As you just go to this intimate place, and God actually talks to you about your stuff,
about
and things
your concerns,
that He wants to walk you into. And you said something that's important for all of us to understand, is that His word is alive because He's alive, and it's relationship and intimacy, and like you said, it's really fun. So we'll pick this up next time. We want to have you talk about how you guys process decisions. I know Shad has had interesting, Kathy, and you have. Kathy's someone that also has this quite a bit. Is he had interesting experiences with dreams that God uses to communicate to him.
Yes.
And it was fun because it was fun that when he was starting, it was like, what do I do with this? And it's really been neat because he's got a high sensitivity to that, and God uses it. So we'll talk. I'd like to talk a little bit about that. So thanks so much for sharing, you guys, of just your story. And it's such a beautiful thing that God, brought you together and then said, "Hey, I want you to have intimacy with me." God speaking to you, and you said yes, and you're enjoying it, and we can see it. You're enjoying that intimacy, and what a thrill and honor. So thank you so much for sharing, and we'll come back next week. We want to pick up their story about how they make decisions and go deeper into this small group that they're part of and how they're processing that. So it'll be fun. So Kathy, we'll see you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, and be sure to tune in next week and hear the rest of their story. And if you have any questions, send them in to questions@afjministry.com. We'll see you soon.
All righty. All right. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.